Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
Our next speaker for today is Melinda Wittstock. Melinda is a 5-time serial entrepreneur who has built 4 businesses in media and tech to 7 and 8-figure success. She's the CEO and founder of Podopolo, the world's first socially Podopolo. Yeah. The world's first socially interactive and gamified podcast network where people gather to discover their favorite podcasts, connect with hosts and each other, and win rewards. And they put lessons learned into action to enhance their lives and engage in world changing social impact initiatives. This is also the first to share revenues with podcasters. One of the most amazing initiatives. They donate about 10% of their earnings to the mission-driven businesses and charities worldwide. Melinda also helps businesses and owners and entrepreneurs launch magnetic and profitable podcasts. So, all ears to you, Melinda. Your topic for today is consciousness in the age of rapid fire targeted disinformation.
It is indeed. Thank you so very much. And what an honor to be included in this. And I just want to say I couldn't agree with Sam more when he was talking about the power of podcasting, and also Robert about positive influence. And we'll take a couple of those things in today as we talk a little bit about podcasting. But what I really want to get into is the duality at play in the world right now when we're talking about disinformation and how it's dividing us and what we can do about it as our consciousness raises. Because on one hand, we have this rising consciousness and awareness of many of us evolving and raising our vibration on a spiritual path of enlightenment, truth-seeking, inner peace and growth, as evidenced by this very event. On the other, though, a descent into fear and anxiety, overwhelm, paranoia, all fueled by disinformation, conspiracy theories even to keep people divided and actually separated from our own empowerment. And the truth is we all walk in both of those worlds. We walk in the external and the internal. Division, connection, taking, giving, data, intuition, belief, fact. And so today I want to talk about how we can find actual wholeness in that duality or in that separation, and how we can actually connect with ourselves and others in what feels like all the chaos and confusion all around us. What we can do to get a clear signal in the noise of all the infobesity. And of course, positive messages, like what Robert was talking about, is a really good way. So we're going to dig into that a little bit as well. So again, I'm Melinda Wittstock, and I'm a 5-time serial entrepreneur. I'm also a podcaster. I have a podcast that I launched as a passion project about 3 years ago now, which I've built to an audience of 1 million people. It's called Wings of Inspired Business. And it's all about the entrepreneurial journey of women and what it takes. And one of the lessons I've learned along my way as an entrepreneur is that if you want therapy, just become an entrepreneur. I'm also what I call a recovering journalist, and also television anchor across many of the world's major media brands, from the London Times and the Guardian through to the BBC, where I anchored a show in the late 90s, ABC News and beyond, and building forth my own media tech businesses to multi-million-dollar success. So my 5th business is Podopolo. We make a joke about how to pronounce that, Podopolo, and it is the world's first socially interactive, gamified, and mission-driven podcast app and player. So we're a media company, but we're more than that. We are, in fact, a consciousness company, because our very mission at the heart of everything we do as a team, with our customers, with our investors, with everybody that we work with, is all about seeking to inspire personal growth and the evolving spirituality of everyone we serve. Like I said, our customers, our team, investors, catalyzing all of our shared interest communities on the app to be able to take action, to put learning into action for transformation in their own lives, for their own spiritual growth, and also around the 17 UN global goals to improve our world. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing at Podopolo in a moment. But first, I want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship and one of the things that I've learned along the way, because business growth is almost wholly dependent on our personal growth. I wish I'd learned this a little bit earlier on in my life, but I know now that all success really comes from looking deep within ourselves, finding the alignment, the awareness, and the ability to have presence in every moment and really understand our true purpose. Because back to that duality thing I was talking about at the beginning, there is a duality in business in terms of how we react to external forces and how we leverage unique insights that come deep from within to innovate those solutions. There's a duality between our intuition, our right brain creativity, and our left brain analytic, our obsessive need for data, watching the numbers in our businesses, for facts. And there's also the duality between pursuit of opportunity and attraction of those opportunities. So one other thing that I've learned about spiritual growth as an entrepreneur is that if I look back on all the many successes and also all the many failures, I'm just going to destigmatize that for a bit because it comes with the territory. I've actually learned more from the challenges and the setbacks and the failure along the way than the success. And I've learned that also that the external things around me, sometimes the things I can't control, but whatever it is, anything that's triggered me are actually opportunities for growth. Mm-hmm. And that what I'm experiencing at any given time in my day are actually just mirrors into my own soul, into what's going on within me. And thus an opportunity to really clear or release any of those beliefs or blocks that I'm simply mirroring, but they have nothing, in fact, to do with me, really, or my true essence. For me, it's been an evolution from being a human doing to a human being. It's been an evolution from seeking external validation to inner acceptance. And it's been an evolution from running to a destination or from something to being fully present and enjoying the journey. So I want to get into this disinformation bit here, because we do live in very uncertain times, polarized times, fast changing times. We have this pandemic that's out of control, especially, here in the United States and other places in the world, an economic disruption as a result. And that is sparking crippling fear and paralysis and anxiety and division. We have all this stuff playing out about masks, vaccines, all the election mayhem going on here right now. And swirling all around us also are lots of half-truths, misdirects, misinformation, outright lies, conspiracy theories, and also an overdose of information. So much of it moving too fast for any of our human brains to actually process. It's an infobesity, and it is overwhelming. And yet, at the same time, there's this growing awakening and spiritual awareness, a duality of light and shadow, and within that, a choice. So we can choose to contract in fear and scarcity, or we can expand in joy, in acceptance, and in empowerment. There's much we can't control about the world around us. And to live fully and to succeed in our chosen path, whatever that is really an exercise of embracing, releasing, and overcoming fear. Whether that fear is fear of failure, fear of success, fear of not being liked, fear of not being enough, fear of uncertainty, fear of change, fear. so much of that is unconscious as well. So I'm going to tell you a story. I forget who mentioned John Perkins, who I know very well, but some years ago, I found myself lying on a banana leaf in the middle of the Amazon jungle, as one does, with John and Lynn Twist and the Achuar tribe, who had only met the outside world 20 years previously. And we took part in a sacred plant medicine ceremony. And what was astonishing is I saw in an instant every single decision that I had ever made in my life. And I mean, that was born of fear. And I'm sad to say it was a long list, right? But in this matrixy way, I saw all these things. It was like some cosmic chit, and I could see also what those decisions based on fear had actually cost me personally, how fear had actually led me to compromise intentions or my dreams or my purpose. And I tell this story really only because right now I believe that fear is actually actively being used as a strategy to divide us, to keep us playing small, to actually thwart enlightened empowerment. And it's important to be aware of this. So here in the United States, our very democracy hangs in the balance. Half the population here believes this steady drumbeat of lies about voter fraud, none of which are standing up in court. And a sizable subset of those are believing these wild QAnon conspiracy theories that Democrats run pedophile rings or they eat babies. And I'm really not kidding. People actually believe that stuff. And it seems cult-like to me. And at the root of it is this belief that some unknown dark external force is to blame with everything that's wrong with our lives. And what it is actually is an epic head fake of disempowerment. So I'm here to talk about consciousness in this world of rapid fire targeted disinformation. How do we cope with this? It's a world where it seems people not only choose their own facts, but perceive inconvenient facts to be an actual existential threat. So think about it. We've got all those algorithmic filter bubbles on social media entrenching us variously in the judgment of others. All those fake it till you make it highlight reels that actually make other people feel less than. All the hyper-targeted disinformation and trolling to profit from fear and division. Now, I'm going to cop to something here. I was one of the earliest cheerleaders of social media, full on, bought in all the way, because early on, I saw its tremendous power and potential for good. Exactly what Robert was talking about. And its power to educate, illuminate, connect us in positive ways. And it can do all of those things. I've always loved the concept, too, of connecting people around shared interests, leveling the playing field with crowdsourced content, believing really that it would and does empower people to bring out the best in human nature and to improve our world. And so that's why I actually created one of the first ever social media apps. This was pre-Facebook, pre-Twitter, pre-Instagram, and I grew that thing to 3 million users in just 8 months. And it was called Ask Your Lawmaker, and it was a powerful tool for citizens to actually hold power to account by questioning their elected representatives. And our team would get those questions answered for people to listen, comment, share. And it was amazing how regular citizens succeeded more than journalists did at getting politicians off prepared scripts. But here's the thing. The challenge is, with any light, there's also a shadow. With every positive, a negative. And what we've learned in the past few years, now very much in sharper focus, is the manipulative power of social media. Because when put in the hands of giant monopolies that divide and fearmonger in the name of engagement, and yet keep us in fear and scarcity, there's something wrong there. So early on, though, I give myself a little bit of a pat on the back, because starting in 2008, this is kind of early, I started innovating some of the first algorithms to enable personalized experiences in a content way. So how could we be able to serve, personalized, relevant content to different people based on their interests? And with that effort, I began to understand the potential problem of the filter bubble. And little did I know that it was going to come to where we are right now. But my approach back then was very different. I was coming at it not as a techie, but as a multiple award-winning journalist. And I understood as a journalist that no newsroom in the world had the resources to be everywhere at all times. I understood there was a fault line too in journalism. Again, back to that duality thing, right? Every story was like black or white, good guy, bad guy. Every story in its essence, in its structure, was really about polarity and division. When in fact, the truth, as we all know, is many shades of gray. Each of us, when we're really present and conscious, we know this, that we're viewing the external with our own eyes, through our own experiences, through the filter of our own subconscious fears and our own confirmation bias. I knew back then, for instance, if 100 people witnessed a traffic accident, they would all have a totally different story to tell, a completely different perspective, like witnessing like the exact same thing. So I set about innovating a crowdsourced news app that would take in multiple sources and perspectives and use algorithms to sift and sort from all these varying perspectives what everybody could agree on and what required further validation. It was all in the realm of patterns and probabilities, all aimed at being able to score a fragment of information, for its reliability. So it was called News It. It was 2011. And it turns out I was solving the fake news problem before anyone knew of such a thing. Okay. So by the way, as an aside, another little lesson of entrepreneurship, timing is everything. And there is a cost of innovating on the bleeding edge. So like, for instance, for News It, I'd go to investors and they'd say things like, what makes you think user-generated content is going to be big? I'm like, well, I had all this evidence. And then the next question would come, mobile. What makes you think that's going to take off? And I, well, look, there's this new thing called the iPhone and mobile's taking off all over the world. And then they'd say, well, even if you have all this user generated content, where on earth will you host it? How will you be able to handle all that? And I'd say, well, hey, there's this new thing called the cloud. So it was considered very risky back then from an investor standpoint to do what I was doing with News It, which is a pity. The company was undercapitalized and it ultimately morphed into a social media analytics business called Verifeed that actually measured people's influence. So we come full circle back around to Robert here. And now we are a decade later. And if you've not seen the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma, just make that a priority, because some of it won't surprise you, like silent family dinners, the issue of kids' mental health, how the Russian intelligence services manipulated our democracy in 2016, or all the conspiracy theories and whatnot. But it does, however, confirm one really important detail. Okay, they knew. The companies, the developers that created social networking giants, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, knew and openly admit that the damage it was causing to our overall well-being and democracy was a problem. And they kept enhancing it anyway with increasingly sophisticated artificial intelligence. And that AI knows exactly how to trigger our deepest emotions, our deepest fears, biases. So Tristan Harris, who you may have heard of, he's a former design ethicist at Google. And this is his quote: "Never before in history have 50 designers made decisions that would have an impact on 2 billion people." And this documentary features tech experts, executives from, all of them, Facebook, Google, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, as they explain exactly how it works and why it works. And the fact is, when a product is free, you are the product. The advertiser is the customer, right? Whoever that advertiser is. And there's tremendous pressure to grow no matter the true cost. So this is what Harvard University professor Shoshana Zuboff said. Social media is a marketplace that trades exclusively in human futures. And those markets have produced the trillions of dollars that have made internet companies the richest companies. It's a gradual, slight, imperceptible change in your behavior that is the product. That is the only possible product. So what Robert was saying to me, to all of us just moments ago, is so important, because the power is really in our hands. The social networks mirror us, but we've got these different filter bubbles, right? Where more and more division, where we're not speaking to each other. So spreading that positive message from a conscious place is vital now, more than ever. So some really interesting things, or actually a really interesting aspect of this, is the actual tech experts, many of them who created these algorithms. Many of them are also parents. It turns out that they regulate, if not outright ban, the use of the apps they created in their own homes. So why is that? And it's a really interesting question. So I know that this has made me reimagine and re-architect much of the way that we intend to evolve social interaction on Podopolo. Podopolo is a shared interest social network, in fact. And one of the things that we're doing here is allowing podcasters to create a connection with their listeners in a way that's meaningful, right? Allowing podcasters to be more easily discovered by having that social component, which is vital to influence. But how do we do that in a way that is positive, that is actually enhancing people's consciousness, enhancing their spirituality, rather than keeping them divided and in this bubble? And this, to me, feels like my life's work. And rather than fostering fear, judgment, or hatred even of the other, Podopolo does this by focusing on rewarding positivity, rewarding love, rewarding the celebration of our diversity, right? It's gamified, and what gamified means, that's kind of a mouthful buzzword, but what that actually means is that people win rewards and recognition and whatnot as they interact with content and each other. But looking at this, how can we reward the behaviors, right, that we want to see? And so for everybody, we all have different paths in our lives and different things that we want to do. Whether we want to do something like just, I don't know, figure out how to make more money, or get the perfect body, or have that amazing relationship, all the things that we all humans yearn for. What are we learning in a podcast that we can put into action in our daily lives? And how can we connect with others who share those interests and do this social piece in a positive way? So rather than using data to manipulate people, the insights that we gain, and we do gain insights, and there is unsupervised machine learning and all those things underpinning Podopolo. But all the insights we gain from helping people to personalize and curate their listening and interact with each other are used to enlighten and open people to new perspectives, experiences, conscious personal growth, and impact missions to solve society's most pressing challenges. And so for all of us who are on a spiritual mission, who are here listening and watching today, what role as individuals can we play in bringing those around us out of fear? How can we be the change that we want to see in the world? think coronavirus actually had a message for all of us. I sat around in the first lockdown back in March and I thought, gosh, it's shining a light on everything actually that's broken, not just around us, but also inside us. There's this moment where you think, am I really doing the thing that I really want to be doing? And I ticked all the boxes. Is this really me? I mean, it showed us if we took the opportunity, it gave us actually a time to quiet our minds and look within. It was showing us where we were out of alignment in our own lives. It was making us question all the shoulds or compromises that keep us separated from ourselves and the lives we truly wish to lead. So the other day, a numerologist friend of mine, she had analyzed the word coronavirus. And it turns out, I don't know how she does this. I don't know her craft very well, but coronavirus means success through the cooperation of others. Like, wow, that's interesting. So I've come to learn that when the lesson is learned, the experience is no longer necessary. Many of us have repeating patterns in our lives. If we ignore them, they keep getting louder, more painful, more extreme. Same thing with society. So what are the lessons we're learning right now from this division, these filter bubbles, right? Because the spiritual path, for those who are on it, come to know very soon that the spiritual path is one of wholeness, not duality. It's about reconciling light and shadow within oneself. It's about releasing our fears, accepting ourselves so that we can accept others. It's about embracing our beautiful diversity as one. It's about compassion. It's about being.
Melinda, you have to unmute.
Oh, hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you. I'm not sure when I went off. I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway, all right. So I was just saying that our spiritual journey really is about being and really being the change that we want to inspire and see in the world. So just a little bit of advice of some things that I've learned along the way as I start to wrap up here. When you find yourself being triggered by the news, or perhaps a family member at Thanksgiving, if you're here in the United States, or fearful for your future, take a moment, take several deep breaths. Like just one is better than none, but a couple of deep breaths, and use that as an opportunity to look within, because we are just simply mirrors to the world around us. And when we can find self-acceptance, and when we can raise our own vibration in joy and love and gratitude, we are in fact raising the vibration of everyone around us. So I believe it is time for our voices to be heard. And I believe we all have a unique message, mission, experiences to share with the world. And I agree. Podcasting is a great way to do this. And if you want to, and you're interested in using podcasting in such a way around a mission, around growing consciousness, I would love to work with you. I help people launch their podcasts. We do one-on-one work, group intensives. And of course, if you have a podcast already, I'd love you to come and check out Podopolo and join us there. And if you're an avid listener to podcasts, come just download the app. It's free. We're at a pretty early stage. We've got lots more work to do. But like I said, we're a consciousness company. And I invite you to join me on this mission. And I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Yugandhar, and everybody for organizing this amazing conference. And I've just been so delighted to learn so much from so many of the people, and it's been wonderful. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Melinda Wittstock. So herewith is a small token of appreciation to Melinda Wittstock for being an esteemed presenter in the World Parliament on Spirituality, North America, Chapter 3rd edition. Thank you very much.